Welcome. Today is day 4, and we will be integrating a database, and Jonathan will be joining us later. So first, we'll do some questions and review with Pear Deck. So let me first get that set up. Okay, you should be able to see the code for Pear Deck. Okay, both of you guys are here. Let's start. Okay, first off, do you have any questions from yesterday? Okay. Will the recordings be available after the hackathon? I think they should be because they're just uploaded to YouTube, so they'll probably stay there for like a long time. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. Review. What is an API, or like generally, like what is it used for, or what does it stand for? Okay, let's see. Yep, it helps to get information from a site. And yeah, it stands for Application Programming Interface. So yeah, Application Program Interface, and it's a way for the code base of different companies to interact with each other and also to like get information from a website, which is what we're going to do today with Airtable. Okay, next question, what can you use Twilio for? Yep, messages. Yeah. And also phone calls, which is what yesterday's homework was. And I shall go over the solution for that. So I'm gonna stop screen sharing and also close the Pear Deck. Okay, so I'm gonna make a new replit, and I'm just gonna call it Twilio voice call. And so this is going to be very similar to sending text messages. So I'm pretty sure I should have the library installed on here. Oh, maybe I don't. I don't know, let's just try it. So from Twilio, we can import their client class. And then it's the same thing as last time. We have an account ID, which is like a username. And that is from here. And then we have an authentication token, which is like our password. And then we'll use their client class to create a new client with our account ID and authentication token. And last time we did client. Oh wait, Jonathan's here. Last time we did client.messages.create, but this time we'll do client.calls.create. And then also the first thing in there for the messages was, I think, like some message thing where you put in your message. Instead, this time we use a URL. And this is where the like voice recording is stored, and Twilio provides a demo one. So we'll just use their demo. We have the from phone number, which Twilio gave to us. And then we also have the to phone number. So I believe if we run this, I might have to install Twilio again. So yeah, okay, so we're gonna have to wait a few minutes for it to install. And Jonathan's here. Hi, Jonathan. Welcome back.
Hey, what's up?
Pretty good. We went through the review questions and now we're just going over the homework problem.
Nice. Did you go to the judging orientation today?
I did not. Oh, what happened there?
I did not go either.
Oh,
I organized the two last year, and I took a look at the slides that they presented to the judges. It's got a lot in store.
That's good.
Do you happen to have like a solutions thing for this?
Do you mean like this?
Yeah, as long as the code matches up.
Yeah, I think
we can continue moving.
Okay, so we'll just not let this finish. But what's gonna happen? What would happen is on here where it's my like phone, I would get a call, and then if I opened it, it would play whatever voice message was contained in this URL. Yeah. Jonathan, are you ready for the next section?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing and then have Jonathan start the next section.
All right. A little sad that we don't have more people who are joining us today, but we've got a cozy group of us 4 people. So yeah. So heads up, I didn't really work on these too much. So apologies if these slides look a bit rough. But today we are going to integrate a database. So number one, it's like, what if you want to store users' login info? So right now we've used like the Python import, or sorry, the Python like input feature so that people can input like, you know, what is your name? They can input, you know, like for example, I would input Jonathan, Eric would input Eric, and we can store these as variables. But each time we stop the program, all of this data just basically gets erased. So imagine if there's like Facebook that was running, and you know there are people who sign up every time, and imagine that their server crashes one time. When the server boots up, then the stuff isn't stored in their like local variables. What happens? That's why you need a database. So it's like, for example, what if I wanted to store users' login info? This data needs to persist longer than the program is running. What if I want to my program to store how much like balance users have, or how much like virtual game token someone has, right? All of these things have to persist longer than the program is running by itself. It's like, what if you wanted, sorry, I don't think, yeah. So for example, Facebook would have a database to store each person's login information. You have to store their users' login information, you have to store their messages, their posts, their images, etc. And all of these are stored in databases. So there are a few different types of databases. You guys don't have to know these. I'm just going on a tangent here, but they're like collections databases. And this is where you basically have this is basically like a class. So imagine that each instance of the class has like a name, age, whatever. There are also relational databases. And this is pretty much, imagine Google Sheets. So you can link different things together across different tables. That's pretty much what we will be building today. So the key about a relational database, the first one was actually created by Oracle. A very popular one is called like MySQL. There's also like Postgres. I don't really know how to say that name, but this database is very popular as well. And the key about relational databases is that we can basically just have tables where we store lines and lines of information, and we can link these tables to each other, which is exactly what Eric will demonstrate today.
So we'll be using something called Airtable. So Airtable is just a database where you can store info. And so we're gonna get some accounts, and I'll send this link in chat. If you go to airtable.com,
so keep in mind all the databases that I mentioned before, like for example, MySQL or MySQL and Postgres, those are databases that you would normally install on a server. So imagine that Airtable has already done that for you. You can sign up for a free account and you can start storing data on their databases, basically.
Yeah. So we're gonna click the sign up for free button. And I'll just sign up with Google. And then when you're on like these selection screens, I'm just gonna choose like personal use, and then just kind of like skip everything else because I don't need it. And then you can start building a table. So for the project name, I'm just gonna call it A2 list, and then continue. And then I'll just click tasks, continue. And I'll just choose priority. Eventually at the end, I'm gonna not use priority and stuff. And then create my own workflow later, continue, and then grid only for now. Which table? I don't remember. Wait, what are the options again?
Just figure it out. You basically want to end up at a place where you have something that's similar to like a Google Sheets open. So you don't want to be working with their other products like automations or like summaries or anything. You want to actually get the database running.
Yeah, so if there's any skip button anywhere, you can probably just skip it and just have a basic table open. And then also we're gonna skip the tutorial. Okay, so for this priority column, I'm just not gonna use this. I'm gonna delete it. So you can like right click on the column and then delete field. So now it's just this name column. And also I'm just going to change these names to like some tasks that I want to be on my to-do list. So like buy apple, and the second one's going to be buy banana. And I'll just have those two for now. And I'll delete this third row by just selecting it and then, or selecting it and then right clicking and then clicking delete record. So for now, my table will just have these two tasks on it. And now we're gonna start coding on Replit. So I'm gonna create a new Python project called or Airtable to do list. So first, I'm going to import the library called requests, which allows us to like send and receive info from URLs. So instead of us needing to like create all this code to handle that, we can just use the requests functions instead, which will save us time. And after that, we need to figure out how Airtable's API works. So I'm going to send a link in the chat. And also, if you're viewing at home, it's going to be this airtable.com/API link. And if you go there, you should come up to this API page and you should see your to-do list table as a workplace. And if you click on that, it'll bring up the documentation for it. All right, so on the left, you should see a tasks table, and this shows how you can retrieve records or create records using their API. So for now, we can just click on retrieve record option, and you'll see that there's a link right here. So I want you to copy that link, and then back on Replit, we'll create a variable. I'll create a variable called URL that holds this link. So this is kind of like the username again. It's fine if people know this, but the important part is the password. So to get your like token, go back to Airtable, and if you click on your profile and account, if you scroll down, there should be a generate API key. So this is going to be like your password. So copy that, go back to here, and we'll have headers hold that, but in a special format. And you want to put your API key right here with a space between bearer. So this is like here on the documentation, you want to have, this is like the header variable thing. And here you want to have your authorization plus bearer and then your API key there, so that Airtable knows you have permission to edit this Airtable. And now we're gonna start creating a thing that like asks the users like whether they want to add a task or delete a task. So I'll just have a while loop that just keeps on running. So while true, and that just true is always true. This while loop will keep on going. And I'll print a statement that says like enter 1 to add a task to your to-do list. Then I'll have another print statement that is like enter 2 to remove a task from your to-do list. Then I'll have another one that is enter 3 to list all the tasks in your to-do list. And then once again, I'll use the input function, and I'll set this equal to a variable called option so that I know what number they chose. And I'll surround it with an int so that it changes it to a number. And now I want to make sure they don't enter a number that's less than 1 or greater than 3. So I'll have an if here if the option is less than 1 or the option is greater than 3. I'll print out, please enter a number, or please enter either 1, 2, or 3. And then there's going to be this new word called continue. And what continue does is if there's any code after this line that's in this while loop, it'll just ignore all of that and it will continue back to the first line in the while loop. So say like after this, I have a print not continued. If I run this, oh, and it has to add requests again. So I'll give it a few minutes.
Yeah, if you're joining us today, feel free to DM me in Slack with your email address. If you've come this far already, I think we should send you some reward or at least recognize you on our closing ceremony at the end of the hackathon. So make sure to send me a message in Slack so I can note you guys down.
This is taking a long time to download.
Yeah, it seems like the replit included CPU is not enough.
Right now it's just over 100%. So
I remember we were like sponsored by Replit one year, so we all got like their premium plan, so we could do things a lot faster. But sadly, we did not email them this year. Anyway, so Eric, do you want to tell us a bit more about dictionaries on like line 4, for example? I don't think we ever covered that, did we?
Oh yeah, I don't think so. Dictionaries is just another way to store info. It has to be like formatted in a certain way. So there's usually like a key and a value, and like every key is matched to a certain value.
So one thing that we usually caution people against is creating infinite loops. Like for example, while true, right? This would just happen forever. How do you stop an infinite loop like this? Because it's always going to be true, right?
Yeah, you can break out of a loop by using the keyword break. So I don't know, maybe for example, I'll have another option that is like enter 4 to end this loop. So now you change this to greater than 4, but then somewhere in my code, I'll do if option is equal to 4, break, and then this loop will stop. Oh, okay, it's done downloading. So say I enter the number 0. Now it says please enter either 2. And I have to change this to 4. Yeah. So it didn't print this out because I went into this if statement and then went to the continue keyword. So then the program went back to the beginning of the loop. Oh, I didn't have to stop it. Okay, and instead, if now I do option like 3, this if statement won't be activated, and then it'll print out this. And then it won't be. I'll skip over this. So now you want to handle which one to choose. So I'll say if option is equal to 1. Oh, and this time I'll also use some functions to keep things simplified. So up here I'll have a function that's called like add task. Then I'll have another function that's remove task. And then another one, list tasks. And then this one's just going to, oh wait, no. Yeah, so those 3 should be good enough. So in here, I'll call the function add task. And then if option, the second one, I'll call the function remove task. And if the option is the third one, I'll call the function list tasks. And then if it's the fourth one, this should break the loop. The break keyword. So I can test that by probably have to be more spaced out. Maybe I have to have some stuff to do. I'll just say print 1. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so if I type in 1, it should print out 1 because it calls the add task function. If I do 2, it'll print out 2. If I do 3, it'll print out 3. And now if I do 4, it should end the loop. And yeah, the program ends. So now we're gonna first work on the list task function because that is the simpler one, I think. So if you go back to the API, there'll be a list records documentation. And so what happens is you do a get request to this URL. So we'll have a variable that holds what is gotten from that URL, and we'll use the new library requests get. And then the first argument is the URL that you're trying to get the information from. And then do headers is equal to headers, so that's the password. And then you want to format it into JSON. Print what tasks is holding right now. We'll see that. Oh wait, hold on. I don't think it's on. Yeah, go sign up on airtable.com. Hold on. Oh wait, my bad. The URL should just end with tasks and not have ID next to it. Because when it did have that, it was just getting the buy Apple task, but I want to get all of them. So I think, yeah, okay. So now the task variable is holding a list of all the different tasks that I have currently stored there. So it has the buy apple and also the buy banana, but it's in the records variable. So if I just include a records right now, and I list, it will just be a list with the 2 tasks. And yeah, so, and if you want to get the URL to get the records from is this first part. And this question mark part is just like extra options you can include in your URL to get some different stuff, which is right here in the documentation. But okay, so now right now tasks is holding a list of all of our different tasks. So what we want to do is loop through those items in this list so that we can print out what they are. So I'm gonna try to use, oh wait, but first we also have to make sure there are actual tasks there. So if we have no tasks, that means the tasks list has a size of 0. So we'll do if the length of tasks is 0, that means there's nothing in there. So we'll print out there is no tasks to be deleted. And then after that, I have a keyword that's called return. And what return does is you can return something or just return nothing. And this will stop whatever's happening in this function. And basically, it'll go back into the loop and then start at the beginning again. Oh, wait, never mind. Wait, no. I thought, okay, this is the list. Print, there are no tasks. Okay, that part was going to be for the remove task, so we'll do that later. Okay, and then now we want to loop through all the tasks that are in this list. So I'll try a while loop right now. So I'll have a I that's equal to 0, so that's index 0. And then while I is less than the length of tasks. If you do tasks at I, that's going to be 1 item. So if we print out what that looks like right now, oh wait, and this is a bad thing. I forgot to increment I by 1. Right now, it would be 0 is less than 2, and this would go on for infinity. So I have to be careful about that. We're going to do I equals I plus 1. So now I gets bigger, and eventually this will be false. So It is almost right. Printing them out 2 times. Oh wait, it's because of this. Okay, hold on. No, let me get rid of that print statement. Okay, yeah, so now it's printing out my first task and then the second task. And what I want to do is get the name of it. So I have a variable that just says name. And we can see how the name is inside another variable called fields. So we'll get the item and then do fields and then get the name. I'm pretty sure if we print this out, comment this out, it should just print out the names of the task. And yeah, okay. And then also I'm going to format this so that looks a tiny bit better. Maybe so it has a dash up the front. Yeah, okay. And then also I want to try using a for loop instead of a while loop so that you guys can see what the differences would be like. If I wanted to use a for loop instead, I could do for a singular task in the tasks list. I just set the name equal to task and then look into the fields variable where you'll find the name of it. And I'll print that out. And this should give the exact same output. Yeah, okay. So this is the list tasks function done. Now let's work on the add task function. So if we look back to the API and we can create a record, it's going to be similar, except this time we'll be sending info to the URL. Okay. So want to ask the user what task do they want to add? What is the name of the task you want to add? And we'll use input again to get whatever they inputted. And then we want to format this into a dictionary and so that we can send this info to Airtable. So we can just call the variable body. And then inside this variable, we'll have records. And then in here, we have fields with the name of the task. And if you look at the Airtable API, that's what this part is. And now once we have what we want to send to Airtable, we use requests again, and this time instead of a .get, we do a .post, which sends information. So we send it to the URL with the same password. And we also include the data that we send, which is JSON equals the body. And then once that's done, we'll print out that the task was added. Oh yeah, and on Airtable, it says to use the post keyword to send info. And now we can test this out. So if we do 1, then we'll add a go running. And if we look up back at Airtable, it didn't show up. Hold on.
Could you go back to the Airtable documentation?
Yeah.
So let's take a look. This process is called debugging, and it's something that you will have to do very often. So if you are to create a new record to insert into Airtable, we see that we need to send a post request, not a get request. So we're basically posting information to the Airtable API, we're including the authorization bearer API key, and it seems like we are including that information correctly, right? Let's scroll down a little bit. So scroll down a bit more. So we can see that the example response would be to basically return the items that we just created. So the way for us to debug this is to basically print out the response to see if we're getting something similar to the example response. Eric, can you go back? Yeah. So yep. So the response is equal to that, and let's print out the response.text, I think.
Text.
Yeah, so in a normal situation, let's see, does that work? So in a normal situation, you'd have to look up whatever library you're using. It just happens to be that Eric and I already know about like the request library, and so you can set the variable response to be like a response to be like a request that you're sending, and you can print out its text. So it seems like we can see that we sent a post request to print out its record with all the information. So Eric, can you go back to the,
Oh wait, it did get
yeah.
added. I guess it was just slow. Okay. So yeah, so now in Airtable, these are getting added. And then if we list, I'll list out the things that we added. Okay, so this works. We're just being slow. Okay. All right, now we'll do the remove task function. So first we have to make sure there are tasks to remove. So we'll do the same thing again for the list and just make sure that there are actually tasks in there. There are no tasks. So if there are tasks, we want to ask the user what is the name of the task that you want to be removed. And we'll take in their input again. All right. So now if we look back at the documentation on how to delete a record, you'll see that to delete a record, we send like data again, except this time we will use request.delete, and we need to send what is the ID of the record to delete. So if you remember from before, oh yeah, each item has a ID a unique ID attached to it. So what we have to do is figure out the ID of the item that we're trying to delete, and then we send that ID to get deleted. So for now, we'll just create an empty variable called ID, which is nothing right now, and we'll loop through all the tasks that are in this task list, and we have to figure out the ID of the name of the task. So we'll first see if it matches the task's name, which we did. So if this is equal to what the user inputted, then the ID would be just the task ID. And then we'll use another, I don't think I talked about this key. Oh wait, I did. It's gonna be the break keyword. So where's the root? So right here, once we get what ID we need, we'll break. So this will stop this for loop from going, and then it'll go onto the next line. So what if we input the name of a task and it isn't in the list, then ID would still be equal to nothing because we haven't found anything. So if that is the case, if ID still equals nothing, then we'll print out that their task was not found. And now this is going to be slightly similar to the add task. We have like a dictionary again that we want to send, except it's formatted like this, and then with the ID that we want to get deleted. All right, and then now we saw how in the documentation it said to use the delete keyword. So we'll use request.delete this time with the same URL and then the same headers there. And then the params will equal the body. And then at the end, we'll print that their task was deleted. Okay, so now we can test this and hopefully it works. Okay, wait, this is wrong. Oh, I forgot the if word. Okay. No. Okay. So if we see the list of everything, there's those options. So if we want to remove it, we'll type in like buy apple, and it got deleted. So I hope if we look back here, yeah, now that item is no longer here. And this should be all done. So I'll just remove everything else too. So I think everything should be deleted. So if we list all the tasks, we'll see that it says there are no tasks, or if we try to remove a task, we'll see that there are no tasks to remove. And yeah, I think this to-do list is done. Is there anything else, Jonathan, or does everything seems to be working and stuff?
I know we worked through a lot today.
Yeah.
Any questions from anyone? Sure, I guess that's it then.
Okay.
Fun fact, some databases are called like CRUD databases. So the C stands for create, R stands for R stands for read, U stands for update, and D stands for delete. So that's CRUD. That's basically what we created today. We created a database where we can create new records, where we can basically add new to-do list items into it, where we can update the existing items, where we can read all of the items, and where we can delete items. So congratulations. We've done a lot this week. We started off with just like the Python basics, and I know it can seem like a lot, but if you guys have been able to keep up, you have learned a ton of stuff. So let's review what we learned today. So databases are used to store persistent information. So things like variables, which you can use to take in inputs, are only stored during the life of the program. When you press that stop button on Replit, that data just gets erased. So on the back end of things, this kind of like variable information is stored in computer RAM, and then database information is stored in the computer's disk. So databases are used to store persistent information that you want to last a long time. For example, it could be login information, messages for like a messaging app, etc. There are a variety of different types of databases. I mentioned that there are collections databases, document-based databases, and what we talked about today were relational databases, and they work very similar to spreadsheets. We used Airtable, which is basically just like a free hosted database. They come with their own API, but you can also host your own database. For example, there's one called MySQL, but this requires a bit more effort for you to get started with. In the case of Airtable, as Eric showed us, documentation is your friend. You want to be able to move back and forth between tabs to take a look at what Airtable expects from your requests that you're making, and then you can basically emulate that in your code. And today we also saw that an item wasn't added in instantly. So that's where Eric and I showed our debugging skills. In debugging, you really just want to do everything you can to trace exactly where in your code something is not working, usually by using print statements to segregate the issue. So experiment, debug, and go for it. Facebook was created with technology. It might seem far-fetched that you can create another version of Facebook, but Facebook is pretty much just like an extension of a database that's used to track all these different profiles and all these different messages, right? So you can create something similar. You have the tools now, and you know that it's possible. You can use all of the different resources that you're finding online to be able to help you. So for homework tonight, let's create an Airtable database to create a login system. So you'll have to create a new Airtable database. You'll have to store the user's email as like just the login email that they would use, and their favorite animal as their password. So normal login systems would actually encrypt people's passwords, but we are not going to go into that. So basically the user's email will be their email, and then the user's password will be their favorite animal. And then also as an added bonus, store the user's favorite TV show. So let users log in to print out their favorite TV show. You'll have to let users enter in their email address and their favorite animal, and you'll have to check that against your current database to see if that matches one of your current records. And if so, then it will print out their favorite TV show. If not, then you will say your favorite animal is incorrect. For users who do not have an email address in the system, you can also let them create a new account. So that's the create part of CRUD databases. So tomorrow is our final class. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for joining. Tomorrow we'll overview everything that we've done by basically completing this homework solution. And we'll also review some of the other stuff that we've learned this week. We aren't going to learn anything new tomorrow, basically. We'll bring on other organizers to talk about what Hack3 is, basically an extension of our first class. What judges are looking for and what kinds of project you can create with the knowledge that you've learned during this class, and also what opportunities there are during the event. So we'll overview all of the different workshops and highlight ones that you might want to attend. We'll even do a mock idea brainstorming session. So I know that we mentioned that Hack3 is basically a place where people have to solve problems that pertain to one of our 3 tracks. So we have already decided on our tracks. We'll basically come up with a different track idea, and we'll work through creating a mock solution that we can actually create with the knowledge that we've learned during this class. And if you've been keeping up until now, if you're actually paying attention and watching these, or if you're just watching Zoom recordings, send me a message with your email and something good will happen. Don't expect too much though, but yeah. So that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for coming. See you guys tomorrow for our last class, and see you guys on Saturday morning at the opening ceremony.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Goodbye.